everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Since taking office, President Trump has successfully dismantled Barack Obama's radical environmental agenda. The result? New jobs and a historic new American energy renaissance. Joining me to discuss environmental and energy politics today is a veteran GOP climate and energy strategist, Mandy Gunasekara. Thank you so much, Mandy, for joining us today.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I got your name right, did I?
That was perfect. Spot on.
Well, then we can just end this interview now.
We're good.
So you have obviously worked in the environmental space for a long time. We have seen quite a change since this president took office. This president ended Barack Obama's Clean Power Plan and the war on coal. How has that really changed the landscape of jobs in this country?
In a huge way. And I think it's important to understand that the war on coal was also a war on communities in West Virginia, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Kentucky, and some of our great states out west. And what the president has done is he took the regulatory boot off the throat of these communities, which has unleashed the economy, because a lot of our economy, there was a new statistic out this morning that coal, natural gas, and oil provide 80% of the energy that fuels this great country and our booming economy, and that's created jobs and all the growth and a restoration of optimism across the country, but especially in those communities that they were at their wits' end under the last administration.
Yeah, and it really has created a bit of an energy renaissance in the United States in the sense that from everything that I hear, we are the number one producer of energy in the entire world, and that really has changed the landscape of things for us. We are not reliant on other countries anymore for energy. We're doing things here at home, and everybody's back to work. So it seems like across the board, a very positive thing, I would say, right?
Yes, it was very important, and one of the first things that he did coming in as president was pare back these harmful regulations, and we're reaping the benefits today and will continue to do so.
Yeah. Something else that he did shortly after taking office, this president, was pull out of the Paris Climate Accord. He has said that it was a job killer. It was one of the worst agreements signed ever. Why was this such a problem for the United States?
Well, the Paris Climate Accord was indicative of the fact that Obama was one of the worst negotiators this country has ever seen. President Trump obviously saw that, and he pulled the country out. The biggest problem, and I was in the Oval Office when we were briefing him and the rest of the senior advisors of the ultimate decision, but the president always asked, how is this going to impact jobs?
Right.
And there were numerous studies showing it was going to be a $242+ billion cost to begin with on the economy, and it was going to wreak havoc in the coal industry, in our steel industry, a lot of manufacturing operations, things that there's been a recent resurgence. So getting out of the Paris Climate Accord was an easy decision because the bottom line, it made it easier to invest in China than in the United States. And when you export American jobs to places like China and India, what you actually do is import pollution, and that creates a whole host of other problems. So the president was right, one, to prioritize that decision, and then to make the decision that he did to get out.
Yeah, well, Democrats don't agree with him on that, of course, but they don't agree on much with him. The reality in this country, though, is that we have been paying attention to the environment for a long time. And over the course of many years now, the United States water and air quality has actually improved. We are doing things the right way in the United States versus places like China and India, who really, Mandy, are the real problem out there, are they not?
They are. You're exactly right. China and India are building coal plants where they don't use basic pollution control technology that our coal operators have been using for decades.
Right.
And that's why when you export our jobs, we import their pollution. And so keeping jobs here is really important. We have the cleanest air on record. Since 1970, we call them the 6 criteria pollutants, but bad things you don't want in the air, like nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, those have been reduced by 73%.
Wow.
Right here in the United States, because of the good environmental policies that we've been doing, and all of those trends will continue under President Trump. And you're right to point out water too. There were problems in the last administration. Everyone remembers Flint, Michigan.
Right.
Well, part of that's because the last administration's EPA ignored tangible issues today because they wanted to make EPA the agency of climate change and only look to the future. What President Trump said was, no, let's focus on the issues that are impacting Americans today and let's improve their standing. And so on the water side, we're investing billions of dollars to ensure that something like Flint, Michigan doesn't happen again.
Yeah, thank goodness. No, what a disaster that was. Now, as we are looking towards 2020, we hear the Democrats specifically talk about climate change. There's so much talk about it. Governor Inslee actually captured the thinking of most candidates. Let's take a look at what he said.
We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change, and we are the last that can do something about it. Our towns are burning. Our fields are flooding. Miami is inundated. And we have to understand this is a climate crisis, an emergency. And it is our last chance in the administration, next one, to do something about it.
All right, Mandy, what do you think? Are most Americans in agreement with that?
No, I think most Americans are a lot more sensible than Governor Inslee or any of the Democrat candidates that are on stage trying to kowtow to people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who are trying to scare the American people by citing frivolous science in terms of climate change. They need to scare the American people to make their socialist agenda seem reasonable. And so they're creating this false picture that isn't reality. And real Americans understand that because they look around and they see they see blue skies, they see clean air, and they have a job. And they know that it's easier to have a job, have their children get a job, fill up gas in their car, and go to the store and buy affordable groceries. And that's what Americans care about.
Yeah, and the reality is even going back to, I think, like the 70s, people back then were saying that by this point in time, literally, like the world was going to be destroyed. People wouldn't be able to walk around without masks on. And here we are, thriving in 2019. We're at one of the cleanest points we've ever had in the history of this country. So it is a little crazy, I think, for most Americans to relate to this. We seem to be doing things the right way, and I agree with you. I think most people get it, and most people's priorities are not on climate change, although according to AOC, we have, 10, 12 years left?
I think it's 12 years.
12 years, guys. I mean, let's just, everybody get ready. So 2020 is very important because there is a chance that should one of these Democrats get in office, we could lose our footing as the major energy exporter. We are losing tons of jobs possibly if these people get their way. What is really at stake in 2020 as we look towards energy?
So I think in the energy space, the most is at stake because you have the Democrats going out there saying they not only want to stop production here in the United States, but that'll stop our ability to export our freedom fuel, as the Department of Energy calls it, to places that are in serious need, like our allies all over the country. So there's major problems in terms of what we can share and create in terms of geopolitical stability, but also the jobs. They want to destroy the entire fossil fuel industry. And back to what we started on, these are communities all over the country where people are proud to have the jobs where they fuel this great country. And the Democrats want to completely destroy that. So when it comes to energy, I don't think that there's any more policy space where there is such a stark choice. You have the destroy it all Democrats versus let's grow and celebrate America's success under President Trump. And I think the voters know that, they'll understand that, and that's going to lend itself to the outcome we all want in 2020.
Well, the outcome we want is 4 more years of Donald Trump, so we will certainly hope for that. Mandy, thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for all of your great work in this field.
All right, thank you so much.
In the 2020 campaign for president, the Democrats will choose radical environmental policies, while President Trump will choose jobs, American energy, and a cleaner environment. That's the real news for today. I'm Laura Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.